This video is to make the formula writing flip chart, which we did not start in class on Wednesday, so you will need to fill everything in for this one, okay? Remember, I have this up on here, so like the staples are at the top, and it's going to be opening up as we go. And the questions are all going to go down here, okay? Make sure you put your name on it so that I can identify that it's yours and give it back to you if I find it. And so the whole point of these, remember, is we have to determine types of the compounds so that we can do it correctly. So the three types, again, just to review, are ionic, molecular, and acids. Okay? So this is going to be a little bit different than how we did the naming one because we're going to just have examples on the last one. But the first question, this will like eliminate 2 out of 3 right away, is does it have prefixes, or does it have the word acid in the name? So you're given a name, you're given words, and you're going to write the formula, okay? So prefixes or acid is the first tab. Then open it up. So this says prefixes or acid. Acid right here. And you will never have acids and prefixes. You won't do that, okay? So if it has prefixes, so this is going to be like a 3-parter. So it's either yes, it has a prefix, yes, it has the word acid, or no, it has neither of them, okay? So if it has prefixes, its type of compound is, you can look at your other one, a molecular compound. So this one is pretty quick and pretty simple. Remember that the prefixes tell how many of each atom. Okay, so if it's dinitrogen, there's 2 N's, like that. No big deal. That's all it is if it has prefixes. Okay, then what if it has the word acid and the name? Then the type of compound is, yes, you guessed it, an acid. So if it's an acid, then you're going to have H plus combine with the anion, and you want to balance the charges to 0. That's a 0. And if you need some help with this, if you don't understand what the name means and how to figure out the anion, look at the other flip chart. We put the acid table in the other flip chart, so it's already there for you. Just go look at it. You get to use both at the same time. Okay? Now, I ran out of space, but you have lots and lots and lots of space in your flip chart. So I need to erase. Okay, so we still are talking about prefixes or acid down here. And what if it's neither? What if it doesn't have either acid or a prefix in the name? If it's neither to both of those, then it's automatically, the type of compound is ionic. So that's a good process of elimination. So in order, if it's ionic, you need charges to balance to 0. And remember, there's 2 ways to do that. You can cross them down, you can count them out. However, in order to write it, you need the charges to write it, to balance them to 0, to balance to 0. Okay, so now that we know that it's ionic, there are some special cases when it's ionic. It could have a Roman numeral. You can put RN for Roman numeral if you want to. Or it could have a polyatomic ion. So that's our next tab. Roman numeral or polyatomic ion. Okay, so if it has a Roman numeral, the Roman numeral says the charge. So I'm going to just put RN for Roman numeral. I hope you're actually listening to this video. The Roman numeral tells the charge. So if it's copper 2, copper with Roman numeral 2, that means that copper has a +2 charge. Okay? And you would use that when you're writing it out, balancing the charges to 0. It could have a Roman numeral and it could have a polyatomic ion. So this is like not a if that or the other, but it could be both. I'm going to put Pi for polyatomic ion. If it has a polyatomic ion, then the charge formula of the polyatomic ion is what's on your study sheet. So it comes from the study sheet, the half sheet of paper with them all listed on there, what you were supposed to know for the quiz. Okay, and then if it doesn't have either of those, if it's a neither, then both charges come from the periodic table. I'm going to put PT for periodic table, okay? And then you have to just make sure that you balance the charges to 0. So if you need to like put a little star and say like, now balance charges, so that you don't just write down the charges, balance charges, that's important, okay? So now our examples are going to be the last tab on what to do. So we're in examples. So on all of these examples, you are given the name and you have to write the formula. So the first one we have is dinitrogen tetroxide. Then we have chloric acid. And we have potassium hydroxide. Now, in order to do all of these, we're going to go back through and ask ourselves the questions, and we're going to write down the type of compound it is along with writing out the formula. Okay, so the first tab, we asked ourselves, does it have prefixes? Does it have acid? So the first one has prefixes. So that tells us that because it has prefixes, that is going to be a molecular compound. So I'm just going to put M for molecular, okay? And so then we said that the prefixes tell how many. So since it's dinitrogen, that means we have 2 N's, and tetroxide, oxide is O, and tetra is 4. So N2O4 is the formula for dinitrogen tetroxide. Okay, now let's say chloric acid. First tab, prefixes, no, acid, yes. So it has acid, so the type of compound that it is an acid, A for acid. So when it's an acid, we have H plus is going to go first, and then it said refer to the table to figure out the anion. Okay, so now you have to look back at your naming flip chart, grab it, hold it, flip it open to the first tab, and we have chloric with no hydro in front. So if we take off the chloric, ic with no hydro in front is the 8. So we really need chlorate. And on your polyatomic ion list, that's a 8 polyatomic ion, is ClO3 -1. So now the charges are equal to 0, so that formula will be HClO3 for chloric acid. Okay, last one, potassium hydroxide. No prefixes, no acid. So then that means by default, if it's no to either of those, then it has to be ionic. Okay, and so then we need the charges. Well, we have a polyatomic ion of hydroxide, which is OH -1, no Roman numeral, so that means the potassium's charge comes from the periodic table and it's a +1. So those are just 1 and 1, so KOH is potassium hydroxide. All right, use these flip charts. We're going to be having a pop quiz, so hopefully again you're listening to the audio, a pop quiz Monday and Tuesday where you have to use these the flip charts in order to tell me the name or tell me the formula of a compound. Good luck.